I'm back. So now we have the next installment of the 2013 Associated Press Style Book, and we're going to be doing letters L through Q. As a reminder, just to let you know that I'm highlighting what I think are the most important, but I wanted to show you, I know you guys get tired of my cartoons, except for my dear Derek Hoffman, my cameraman, who laughs at them, but I think it's pretty darn amazing that I found a cartoon that says, "Oh, Bob, I just love it when you quote AP style." My heart. Yeah. So let's get into it. We're going to start on page 152. And the first entry is on the left-hand column toward the bottom. And basically, we want to avoid the word lady, unless we're really, it would be men and women, ladies and gentlemen, male, female. That would be the way we do it. And below that, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. You're going to capitalize the word lake when it's a proper name and not when it isn't. Then would you flip over to the left-hand column on the next page, the word late. And what we're looking for here, we don't want to use it to describe somebody's actions while they were still alive. So here's the example that AP says, "Only the late senator opposed the bill." Well, he was alive when he opposed it, right? So be careful with that little awkwardness. Oh, I guess I skipped one, last. Okay, sorry, we're going back. Yeah, we're going to back a page. It's the last word on that page. The last is not the latest. It does not mean that. AP says, avoid the use of last as a synonym for latest if it might imply finality. The last time it rained, I forgot my umbrella is acceptable, but the last announcement was made at noon. Does that mean there's no more announcements? It would be the latest announcement was made. Okay, lay and lie. Oh boy. Hang on to your hats on this one. This puts you, what can I say? If you learn lay and lie, this is the calculus of English, okay? So here's the problem. We have, of course, there's a word lie, which means to tell a falsehood. But we also have two words, lay and lie. And one of them, there are what we call, they're the parts, every verb has parts to it, and that's how we make tenses. And there is one, let me just see if I can make sure I get this right here. There is the word lay, whose past tense, or what we call past part, is laid. And then there is its what we call the past participle, which is laid. I know it scared you there when I snuck that participle in, didn't it? Yeah. And then we have, well, how we make the future, or the progressive tenses, laying, okay? All right, not bad. Then we have the word lie. And watch what happens here. It is lie, let me make sure I'm writing this on right here. Lie, lay, past, and oh boy, I know that you use this one a lot. Lane, yeah, so that's in your vocabulary a bit. And we have, of course, lying. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second then. So the problem with this is, I think, that these look pretty similar, right? So let me see if I can explain this to you. If I'm going to put a book on the table, right, a person is going to lay the book on the table. I laid the book on the table. I have laid the book on the table. I was laying the book on the table, right? Lie says, I lie on the couch, present tense. I lay on the couch. Are you ready for this? I have lain on the couch. I am lying on the couch. So, this really does separate the men and the boys. And when we get to grammar, I will unlock the mysteries of all of that. But that is the difference between lay and lie. You know what I'd do on deadline? I'd find another word right? That's probably the easiest. And here's a neat example of, this is on the top of page 154, lectern, podium, pulpit, rostrum, okay? And everybody uses them interchangeably. Well, it's not. The lectern is that thing that you stand behind, and people sometimes lean on it. That's the lectern, okay? The podium is the thing you step onto. It's also the rostrum. And a pulpit is something you step into, as in a minister. And if you look at some of the old cathedrals, they actually, it kind of juts out, you know, the pulpit kind of juts out. And nowadays they have, it's a stage, isn't it? And there's the screen and the guitar music going on behind. But that's technically the difference. So if you've got somebody standing on the lectern, picture this in your mind, that person has crawled up on that thing and is standing on the lectern. Right? Legislative titles is at the bottom of page 155, left-hand column. When we do legislative titles, the first thing we can do is that we can abbreviate like representative and senator and so forth. So this is going to be Representative Joe Blow, my favorite guy, right? And the next thing that we're going to do is that if this was all written out, we would put a comma, and then we need to say what is this person's political persuasion. So we would use a D for Democrat, an R for Republican, I for Independent. And so let's say this person's Republican. It would be a Republican. Notice that there is no period there. And then a dash, or hyphen really, and let's say it's Wyoming. And then we would do the state abbreviations. If the sentence continues, we put a comma. Now, notice a couple things I'm not doing. I am not putting this in parentheses. I am not writing out the word Republican. I'm not putting a period there. If, let's say, the person is from Texas, then we go by the AP style, which is, if you remember, the states that are 5 letters or less, plus Alaska and Hawaii are the ones that we spell out. So that's what I'm looking for in legislative titles. And on legislature, I kind of brought this up when we were talking about City Hall and City Council. And the L in legislature would be capitalized when we know we're referring to a specific legislator. And that was on the top of page 156. On the right of 156, I want you to kind of put this one together. I want you to do less. You'll see less, it's on the right-hand side. And then I want you to write in the words like over and under and more than. And I'm going to take all of these kind of at once. One of the things that I see done a lot that's not correct, I see people say, that sweater was cost over $20. Yeah, it's over as a spatial reference. So it cost more than or less than. That's the words we want to look to. So that's what I'm really talking about here. And then I know one of our editors was noting he misused this the other day. The word liaison, which is the last entry on that page, it's a French word. And part of the problem is that we have, we kind of slur it when we say it. So the word is liaison. So it's usually this I that everybody misses. Or if they remember there's another I, they stick it right here, right? So it's not quite correct. Like and as. This is on the right-hand column toward the bottom of 157. We're going to get into a little grammar here, so I know it's kind of a little bit scary thing, but we want to use the word like when we are comparing nouns. And we're going to use as when we have a clause. I know, big word. Clause is simply, we have a subject and a verb. So the AP says here, use like as a preposition to compare nouns and pronouns. Jim blocks like a pro. Like is the preposition. A pro is its object. in as, it says, AP says, the conjunction as is the correct word to introduce Jim blocks the linebacker as he should. As, conjunction, he, subject, should, verb. So that's the difference between those two. Lineage and lineage it's just, it makes sense to say lineage is the number of lines to something. Lineage is the one where we're talking about our ancestry. I'm guessing more time you're going to be using this word. I don't have a really good tip on that one, of how to remember it. Hey, I've got one. What about if your lineage is how long your ancestors are, and it's a bigger word, it has more words. There you go. I love this one, guys, this cartoon. The book of phrases. We're going to look at the word like. And the definition, the first word in a teenage girl's sentence. Like, right? Okay. At least Derek laughed. Top of page 158, left-hand column. This is one of those, I think I used the example the other day where or at least I have maybe with some of you. You've heard the cliche, have your cake and eat it too. Well, anybody can have your cake and eat it. The catch is really to eat your cake and still have it. So it's one of those phrases that we use that we've misused. And the lion's share of something comes from the old Aesop fables. And the way people misuse it is that they say the lion's share is the biggest, and it's not. It's the best. So this story from our local paper, this says, this spring, the state said no to a grant that would have paid for the lion's share of the $2 million addition. Why couldn't we just say the majority? I mean, that would have been a better word. Why use that cliche? And I bet livid is one of those that you have also misused, and what I frankly tell students is just don't even use it anymore. This is the bottom of page 158 at the bottom of the right-hand column. You hear a lot of people use livid as he turned livid, like scarlet, red, angry, whatever. Livid is when the everything just drains from your face. So you're ashen, you're pale. Why don't we use ashen or pale? Yeah, why not? Okay. The next entry is loan and lend. It was interesting. As some of you may know, I get calls and emails from all around the country. I'm not really exactly sure why, but I'm kind of a grammar guru, I guess. And I got one from this summer from someone in Hawaii and wanted to know loan and lend. And I thought, yeah, that's part of my AP Stylebook. So basically, loan is a noun and lend is the verb. So you don't loan someone your keys, you lend them your keys. And loath and loathe, notice the E at the end on this one, that's right underneath there. The adjective form is here, the verb is here. A lot of students tell me they remember the E and verb, and that helps them with that. So if you say, I am loath to go to the store, I loathe going to the store, then hold it. I loathe him, that would be a verb. That would be a better example of that. And then right below that, at the bottom of that column, long distance and with a hyphen and not with a hyphen. Long distance, when we're always referring to long distance telephone calls, they're going to be, that would be a good example of an adjective. So, okay, I want you to just look at these two and just shake your head and go, really? How does this make sense? So this is at the top of page 160 on the right-hand column. Long-term can be a compound modifier. He had a long-term relationship, okay? He's in it for the long term. It would be more of a noun or an adjective or adverb. But then explain to me why, if this is also an adjective, why isn't that hyphenated? I know, just to keep you on your toes. So that I always have to kind of remember. This is a tough one to remember, but that's why we have the AP Stylebook. I'm going to go down here just for a second to get to lion's share. It says, not lion's share, it says Tarzan and Jane Jungle Clothiers all loincloths instead of clothes, right, on sale. And he said that I and O had better be transposed, Tarzan, the lion's clothes. I want to go to LY, and I see this is another one of those in the top 25 of misused words on page 160, right-hand column. Here's the takeaway on this one. When you use an LY word, which is always going to be an adjective, that's a takeaway that I can give you, and you have it next to another modifier, do not hyphenate the LY part of it. So, newly elected legislator, no hyphen. Badly worded paper, no hyphen. So don't put that hyphen in there. Now we go to magazines. The most important thing I want you to remember about magazines titles, which is on the right-hand column of 162, is that we don't need to put them in quotation marks. Books are put in quotation marks, but magazines are not. And if a magazine has the word magazine in it, then you would capitalize the M in magazine. If it doesn't, it's that you're going to lowercase that. Makeup. Makeup is on 163, right-hand column at the top. This really follows the rules that we're starting to see. If this is a verb, he will make up with his girlfriend. But I'm going to apply makeup. The adjective, the makeup kiss, how about that? All one word. Now if you'll turn to 134, top of the right-hand column, mantle and mantle sounds exactly alike, but notice the switching in the spelling here. This mantle is, it's something like the Virgin Mary would put around her head, you know, that would be a mantle. This one is the shelf, okay? Students tell me that they can remember this from shelf, S-H-E-L, and that helps them remember that one. So, at the bottom of that page, the word Marshal is sort of an interesting one. When you, if you serve as a marshal, the person, 1L. If you're going to marshal your troops, you're kind of gathering them up, 1L. The only time you're going to have 2 L's is when you're talking about the proper name. And when you're talking about the proper name, then you would also have a capital M. There you go. So this one is correct as it is, but I do see it misused a lot. And yikes, here it was in our local paper, the fire marshal. Now, his name wasn't Marshal. It was his position, and you can see that this was the major headline on the front page, and they didn't have it quite right. Now when you turn to mass, which is on page 165 on the left-hand side in the middle, first of all, notice that mass is capitalized. And then the second thing is you celebrate a mass. You would say a rosary or recite a rosary, but you would celebrate a mass. And here's an example from the Denver Post of mass music, right? And boy, I've looked at this headline several times and I thought, notice if it was lowercase. Defending old-time mass music. Is that like mass media? You know, what is that? So, yeah. Okay, media. And that's on page 166. What we're talking about here is when we have foreign words that have come directly into English, sometimes weird things happen. And this is my 4 years of Latin, okay? The singular of media is medium. The plural in Latin is media. So this takes a plural verb. I know some of you are musicians. I know you guys have heard the word opera, right? Opera. That happens to be the plural of a word. Its singular is opus. right? And this is where everybody in the class goes, oh, like Mr. Holland's opus. Yeah, that's it, his work. This is, if you know what an opera is, it's a collection of works. And then we have, I know you've heard the word graffiti. Graffiti, if I'm getting it right. Graffiti, right? That's the plural. And its singular is, you ready for this? Hang on to your hats. Graffito. So if you go into the bathroom and there's only one, for a good time call, that would be graffito. And if there's several numbers, it would be graffiti. Well, there's all kinds of words like datum and phenomenon and phenomena. So those, and your friend the dictionary will tell you what to do with that. This cartoon says, welcome to All About the Media, where members of the media discuss the role of the media in media coverage of the media. Okay? It's still plural. As I had mentioned before, the last time we were together, there's an entirely new entry on mental illness, and I hope that you will read through that. But if you would turn over to 167, I want to show you what I highlighted because I thought it was really important. It's the first full indented paragraph on the left-hand column. And here's the way it says. It says, mental illness is a general condition. Specific disorders are types of mental illness and should be used whenever possible. So schizophrenia or whatever it might be. And then immediately to the right, on the right-hand column, the second full indented paragraph. Let me read this to you. Avoid descriptions that connotate pity, such as afflicted with, suffers from, or victim of. Rather, he has obsessive compulsive disorder. That's just plain vanilla, and I think that's the way to go. The next word is the word mid, and this is on page 172. So we're going to skip over a couple, although I will mention to you on page 170, there's a whole metric conversion thing. And sometimes I find I have, my brother, as you guys know, lives in London, and he'll send me a cookbook that's in metric system, and I have to do the conversions, and I pick out my handy AP Stylebook and do the conversions for it. But the word I'm looking for is the word mid, and it's on page 172, the third one down. Most of the time, the word mid is not going to have it's a prefix, and it's not going to have a hyphen. And I got to tell you, I don't know why our PR office here just cannot seem to get it right. A midterm grade, no hyphen. Mid-semester, no hyphen. The one time you're going to see it is like if you have the plane crashed in the mid-Atlantic. Now the A in Atlantic is a proper name, and of course it would be capitalized, and we would use the hyphen there. So, boy, you're going to see as I had put in Al-Qaeda and some of the other things, I think this is your world. This is the world you're going to grow up in. So we need to be talking about how we're going to do Middle East, and that's the bottom of page 172. It says here that popular usage wants to distinguish the Near East and the Middle East, but the two terms now overlap with current practices favoring Middle East. Use Middle East unless Near East is used by a source. Mid East is also acceptable, but it is preferred to say Middle East. Yeah. And middle initials. My bottom line on this is, and this is the top of 172, middle initials would be a preference that people have. You know, we've laughed about me not having a middle initial, and the Army gave me one, right? But there's sometimes that, particularly in police stories, you need to use that middle initial because there's so many people who have similar names. So that can kind of help keep you out of libel issues. There's some people, though, that are so famous that they just never use their middle initial. And the example given here is Mickey Mantle. I've never heard anybody refer to him as Mickey C. Mantle. No. So, midnight. And that's just right at the bottom of that column. This is going to be, you're going to see the same thing for midnight and noon. if it's 12, I don't know about you, but you go 12 p.m., 12 a.m., oh, which is that? I don't remember. Isn't it much easier for you to say, the luncheon will begin at noon? The deadline for applications is midnight. So much better to say that. Oh, I cannot tell you, my heart is so, remember how I got excited last time we were together? This is my new excitement. Mile is now been changed. It is now, and this is on page 173. This is the last indented paragraph under mile. Use figures in all references. This is so huge I can't tell you. I mean, we used to have that under 10 and none, who cared, and it didn't match with anything else. So I am so thrilled about this. It'll make it really easy to remember. Miles per hour. Actually, on first and second reference, MPH is fine. We don't want to use the word per. I'm going to get to that when we get to the to that letter. But miles an hour per hour. I always like to say keep English with English and Latin with Latin. But MPH is going to be okay. Starting on page 173 and going a little bit further, we have military titles. And I will tell you that these are also be titles for sheriff and your police department and things like that. Now, what's going to be hard for you guys is that for some of you who have been in the military itself has its own set of abbreviations. So, for example, the military would use this as an abbreviation. And all my military folks in here would say Sergeant First Class. But those who don't know anything about the military, that means nothing to them. So you'll notice that AP will do it as Sergeant, and then I'm going to have to look, make sure. See, I have to look this up too myself. Under Army, Sergeant, and it goes Sergeant First, no period, Class. You will notice that like a major, you know, this would be how we would have done it in the military, but in AP style, it is like that, okay, with the period there. So I think this is not one that I expect you to memorize, but I do expect you to say, oh God, there's something funny about this, and I've got to look it up. Millions and billions and trillions, and I sound like Carl Sagan. That's at the top of page 176. And as I told you last time, trillions is the new entry here, so we are now there. The most important thing, and I'll review it again, is that we're going to be using the numeral and then the word. So 2 million refugees and $2.5 million. We'll do it. Okay, and there's one more thing that I want you to focus on. Let me find it in here if I can. Let's say that we're not sure how much something is going to cost. It's going to be between $2 and $4 million. Do not write 2 to 4 million, because what you're literally writing here is it's going to cost someplace between $2 and $4, or $4 million. And let me tell you, if I'm a taxpayer, I want to know which one it is. So we do need to put that other million right in here. Minus sign, which is at the bottom of the right-hand column. What we're saying here is that sometimes it can be really tough to see that little minus in front of something. And those of us in Wyoming know that there is a, have you ever noticed this, that at maybe 30 degrees, we'll put a coat on. 20s, teens, okay, maybe some gloves. But we're not going to get to a hat till after it's 0, right? Well, it's for us, there's a big difference between minus 10 degrees, or let's say, how about minus 20 degrees, right? And 20 degrees. That's the difference between a hat and all kinds of things. So don't use that minus. It's too little, it's just too hard to see. Months. Okay, let me talk about months here. I may have to Let me see if I can get rid of some of this here. I'll just do it this way. Months, there are a couple of ways that we need to deal with months. If we have a date, it's going to be January 30th, 1960, okay? We are going to abbreviate with the date the ones, I call them the long ones. So when we get to March to July, we don't abbreviate those when we have a date. That makes sense. You're going to abbreviate the long ones. Now, if I said he started in college in January 2010, I don't need a hyphen here, and notice that I don't need a comma there, and I spelled this out. The other thing I want you to notice is, let's say it says he was born on January 30th, 1950, and lived in da-da-da, okay? We need another comma here to set this off. Mishap. Mishap is 177, I think. Oh, I missed one. I got those out of, or I skipped mishap, didn't I? Years ago, there was a man, a reporter in Cheyenne named Kirk Knox. And he would write, he was a police reporter, and he would write stories that said, two killed in 4-car mishap. That's not a mishap. Stubbing my toe, that's a mishap. Forgetting my book bag, that's a mishap. So I just think it's a stupid word to use, and I just think it connotates something that's maybe not right. Okay, music. That is on page 180, so we're going to go over a little bit. And there's a long entry here, but basically what we're looking at is that you're going to use, it says capitalize but do not use quote marks on descriptive titles, like box suite on so-and-so. Use quotation marks for non-musical terms in a title. So I'll just let you kind of read through that, and basically we just don't really need to have a lot of stuff with it there. The next entry is, of course, one that we've talked about, that we've got in your world. It's going to be a little bit different, and that's the word Muslim. And that is the last entry on the left-hand column of 182. And this is the preferred way to describe people who adhere to the Islam faith. So it's going to be not Muslims, but Muslims. Myriad is the last entry, and let me tell you how myriad is an adjective. And you don't need the word of. A myriad of problems. Just say a myriad problems. And that's all you need there. Nationalities and race. We've kind of hit on this in different ways. And this is on page 185. And I'll kind of let you read through it. But it says capitalize the proper names of natives, nationalities, peoples, races, and tribes. But we are going to, lowercase words like black and so forth. Now, nationwide is the last entry on that page, and I'm using it here, but this is going to work everywhere. Nationwide is one word, so is citywide, countywide, statewide, campuswide. Okay, no hyphens are needed. And then we have the naval and naval, and that is on page 186 at the left-hand side. They sound exactly alike, but notice one is EL and one is AL. Anything that refers to the Navy is going to be AL. But watch this, guys. If this EL, a lot of students tell me that the word belly helps them, okay? So your navel is a belly button, right? A navel orange has that look like a little belly button there, and so it would also be spelled that way. And Dennis the Minute says, it's a navel orange, Dennis, not a belly button orange. Newspaper names. This is on page 188 at the top. what I'm looking for here is newspaper names do not need to be put in quote marks or anything else. But the one thing I do want to kind of show you, let's say I'm talking in an international story or even a national story, and I'm talking about the Sheridan Press, okay, the Sheridan Press. Well, there are lots of towns named Sheridan, one in Illinois, I believe. And so if I'm trying to distinguish, and my reader might not know, I am going to put the abbreviation that we use, Wyoming, in there so they know what I'm talking about. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's going to be spaces there. So if it's Texas, it's still going to be Texas in here, right? Because we wouldn't abbreviate that. The next one is nicknames, and it is on the left-hand side in the middle. The bottom line is that we're going to put quote marks around nicknames. There are, and then it gets a little dicey here. Does anybody know Tiger Woods' real name? I'm a golfer, so I know this, right? It's Eldridge or something like that. Yeah, no, and he was named for, I think it was for, his dad was an Army Green Beret, and it was named for a buddy, okay? But his nickname has always been Tiger. The problem is that really has become his name. People know him by that. But sometimes we have names like, I can't remember. Remember what was his name? I can't remember his first name, but they called him the refrigerator. Perry, you know, he was the football player. And if you called him blank refrigerator, you would put that word in quote marks. This weekend I read an article about Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel. And unfortunately, those of you who know this will know that he has another nickname beside Johnny Football. He's also known as Johnny Effing Football, all right? I still don't think I would use that in a family newspaper, right? So I'd be a little careful. There's some nicknames we may not want to use. On 9/11, this is the acceptable way to refer to 9/11, the last entry on 189. And then if you look on the right-hand side, the word number. We use this a lot in sports. So the number 4 ranked, or the number, see it's going to be number, the number 4 team in the nation. It's capital N, little o, period, space, and the 4. Rankings are the big time you're going to see that. And what does this cartoon say? Control center. I better erase this so we can see it, right? Control center. A satellite is falling. Tell NASA to divert it so it doesn't hit North Africa. And it says, good golly, Miss Molly, right? I don't know why I put that in there, because it's the M's. Yeah. Non. Non as a prefix, and if you will just kind of, oh, by the way, on 180 and 190 and 91, for those who love Princess Di, Prince William, and Kate, and all, it's everything nobility is that you need to know is right there. But let's look at the word non, which is at the top of 192. You know, I can almost say almost every time you're going to see non, there's no hyphen there. And yet our PR department just seems to not get this, right? And where I see it misused the most is non-credit, a non-credit class, okay? There's no reason to put a hyphen there. I think AP says, you know, here's maybe this one, a non-nuclear choice strategy. Well, if you didn't put that hyphen in, you get the 2 N's, and that would be weird, so. None. I'm going to talk about this more when we get to grammar, but I would tell you that 99 times out of 10, none is going to take a singular verb when it means not one. So none of the students, I know this sounds weird, none of the students is here. Not one of the students is here, because we're kind of counting them individually. Nonprofit is another example I see our local paper, and I see our PR department here doing as well. One word, and that's under 195. We talked about noon and midnight, same thing on that one. And then if you'll turn to page 193 at the bottom, the word is nowadays, not nowadays, but nowadays. And then, would you look at 194, and I'm just going to say hallelujah. This is a major, major, entirely rewritten section on numerals. I would say the #1 complaint about AP Style is trying to get the numbers down. So I just think this is a fabulous section for you to look at. And I will go here first because I usually can scan it and find it quickly. All right, now we're going to go to the O's, and we're going to the right-hand column on page 198. In the spellings on occur, I want you to notice that there are 2 R's when we double it, so it's occurred and occurring. To make this really weird, though, when we get to recur, it's not reoccur, it's recur. I also wanted you to add the word take place, and I think I have that in the back of your handout. There's not, saying take place and occur are not the same thing. You know, occur, occur seems to me it's more spontaneous, and take place, it's going to happen. The carnival will take place at Frontier Park. Yeah, I've scheduled it. On page 199, bottom of the left-hand column, you know, some of you who I've edited a copy for this semester, I've already told you that you have used up your that's. You cannot have any more that's in the entire rest of the semester. You'll get a new next semester. You'll get a new, you know, what am I going to try to say? A new list of them, right? That you can use, new number. Off of. Why can't we just say he fell off the horse? Not he fell off of the horse, right? So that's what we're looking there. And then we're looking at off as a prefix and off as a suffix, which is at the top of 199. And I got to tell you, this is one, I just have to look them up. I have yet to figure out exactly what the rhyme to reason is. Okay, that was a little joke. We go to okay, and that's on 200. The word okay, A-Y, is not used. Notice that we're using the capital letters, and here are some of the other, he okayed it, he is okaying this, and okays. And there's actually a book about okay. Yeah, I'll let you look that one up so you can see that. Over on the right, on page, right column of 200 is the word on. And it says, do not use on before a date or a day of the week, like the meeting will be held on Monday. The meeting will be held Monday. But sometimes we need to put an on in there if it's going to be something weird is going to happen. So here's the example that AP uses. John met Mary Monday. Is her name Mary Monday? No, it's Mary Tuesday. I don't know. But John met Mary on Monday. Makes sense there. On page 201 on the left, the one time, there are one word, hyphenated, and 2 words. Whoa. When you're talking about as a former, he's a one-time, AP says he's a one-time heavyweight champion. That means at some point in time he was. She is the one-time winner. Just did it once, right? And he did it one time. Yeah, so you just have to think that one through. The next entry below that is online, and what I'm looking for here is don't hyphenate online. It's one word. And across immediately on the right-hand column of that is oral, verbal, and written. Oral is going to be the spoken word, and written is going to be words. The written words are going to be, of course, committed to paper. And we hear verbal as being used to compare it. He has better verbal skills than he has something else, right? Out and out as a prefix and a suffix, which is on page 203, left-hand column. Again, I feel like this is like off. I mean, good God, just look it up, you know. And students are always amazed when they'll come up to me and they'll say, is walk out one word? And I pick up the AP Style book. there's some things I'm going to commit to memory, and there's some I'm not. And out and you know, out and over is also a prefix, and suffix is the same thing. And you'll see that over on the right-hand side of that. But then we have over as a spatial reference, which we've already talked about when we talked about more than and less than. I don't know whether you can see this from where you are, but it says the morning editor, as M-U-R-N-I-N-G. And it says, wait a minute, this doesn't mean you're going to miss your deadline, does it? Some of our editors might say that, right? Page numbers. Page numbers is on 203, left-hand column. What I'm looking for here is we capitalize the word page. So if we said, please turn to page 4, the capitalized P and then the numeral. The one difference here is page 1, and we spell out O-N-E. Palette, palette, and palette. Oh boy. So let's take these. This is at the top of page 203. Let me start with the one that's easiest for most students to remember. Let me use the blue one here. A palette, and see the word 8 right here? The palette is like the roof of your mouth. So we got 8, right? And then this is, you know, that feminine ending in French. And this is, because it's French, think of that. This is, you know, that the artist, he holds the palette and he dips his ink in it. And if you're in Photoshop, you know, you go to the palette, that's what it is. So we think of the Frenchman with the beret here. Okay, there you go. And that leaves palette, and that's that stack of wood that, you know, you're at Sam's Club or whatever, and you see all those things. And then the cartoon says, no, I said 100-foot piazza, not a pizza, right? It is in the P's, that's where it belongs. On page 206, left-hand column, pardon, parole, and probation. They're not interchangeable. A pardon is something that you get released from your punishment. A parole usually is that you're already in the pokey. Do they say that word anymore? And they let you out. And then probation usually means that you're serving, you've already served some, and maybe you're going to be on good, yeah, exactly. You're going to be more on a suspended sentence. There we go. Party affiliation is at the top of page 207, and really all I'm looking for here is if you'll pull down to the bottom where it says short form punctuation. That's the thing that I was showing you before, where you do the R, the hyphen, and then Wyoming, right? Pedal and pedal. Boy, they sound alike, don't they? Students tell me the one way they remember it, the person who goes from place to place, you know, peddling his wares, that is, he's moving around, so there's 2 D's there. And maybe that, how about door to door? I never thought about that. Maybe that will work, door to door. And then the other pedal, of course, is like on a bike pedal. This cartoon says, the bicycle shop, no peddlers, P-E-D-D-L-E-R, allowed. And he says, maybe you should change that to no solicitors, right? Let's look at this headline. This is from the Denver Post. It says, a decade later, Yeti cycles, pedals in top gear, right? So the cycle pedals, and pedals, it means it goes around, right? I guess. I'd have to read the story again. So, anyway, clever headline. The next entry is people and persons on page 208 at the bottom. When you're speaking of an individual, use a person. And people is more of a collective noun for a whole bunch of people. And then I would like you to add on page 209, right after Pepsi-Cola, would you add the word per, P-E-R, and that's at the back of your handout. And the word per, here's my take on this, guys. Use Latin with Latin and English with English. So you would say, he makes $70,000 a year. He makes $70,000 per annum. See the difference there? Latin with Latin, English with English. And then the word percent. First thing to remember, percent is one word. Second thing is when you have a, something rose 10%, you're going to use the numeral. Even if it's 9%, you're still going to use the numeral. But sometimes, oh, I didn't mean to say that, sometimes you have less than 1%. And here's a wonderful example from the Denver Post. It's an AP story, and it says, construction spending falls 0.6% in May. So this is the correct AP format here. The 0 says, because you could just run right over that 6. And people say, well, what? Who cares? Well, let me tell you something. This is a math thing now. A percentage of a big number is a big number. And so that's why those little changes can be important, and we know that with the unemployment rate, don't we? Next one to go to is plants, and that is at the bottom of 211. You know, a lot of times I just have to look these up, but there's if it is a proper name like a Scotch fir, then you probably are going to capitalize that S. But most of the time you will lowercase plants. You remember how we talked about Christmas and Christmas time and Yule and all that? I've added poinsettia in the last couple of years. I am surprised how many times we write the word poinsettia. At the college we will say, you know, club is selling poinsettias for something or another. Where people misspell this word is they leave out the I. And literally we should be saying poinsettia, right? Poinsettia. And just a little factoid, it's named after a U.S. ambassador to Mexico who saw these flowers you know, many, many years ago, thought they were pretty, and guess what? His last name was Poinsettia. Right? Political parties and philosophies is going to be on 214, and it's at the top there. And what I'm looking for here is when do you capitalize and when don't you? So I'll just let you read through that entry there. And then page 216, pour and pour, sounds alike. Of course there is the verb, you know, like the pores on your skin. But the verb pour, like this, means that you are, like you're looking over your books really a lot. This one means to flow. So we really need a new way to come up with it. And I really don't have a good one, but maybe somebody will shout it out in the class today and tell us. But two different words. This one, of course, is a verb, meanings to just really study something very hard. Premiere. Boy, do I see this one. This is another one of the top 25 here. It's the last two entries on 219. The easiest way to start with this, the person does not have an E. The first performance of something, or the first edition, or whatever it is with an E. So this one, Putin surprises with pick for premiere. That sounds right to me, because we're talking about the government official, right? And then this one, Japanese premier, cabinet resigns. Okay. This is from the Denver Post. This is from our local paper. I don't think this is right, do you? Doesn't make sense. Premier of what? We need to take off that E. It's the prime minister guy and the cabinet resigned. Presently is on 220, left-hand or right-hand column toward the bottom. Here's what people do is they interchange presently and currently. Currently means right now. Presently means real soon. And in the South, of course, we had another one called fixin' to. That's in there too. So it would be, well, I guess it would be currently, presently, fixin' to. That would be the timeline on that. Press conference on 221, right-hand column. The preferred term is news conference, and I'll tell you why. The broadcast media get all cranky about using the word press because they think that's just print media. And the thing is that a press conference should not be held just for the press. The whole point of a press conference is to create news or to give news. So news conference makes sense. And then below that, pretense and pretext. A pretense is something that's a false showing. And a pretext is something that you put forward to conceal something else. Right, so there's a little bit of a difference there. I know that when you were in grade school, probably, you learned the difference between principal and principal, right? Which is at the bottom of 222 on the left-hand column. Now, what most people tell me they remember is the principal is my pal. That's what they remember, and they are absolutely right. On the other hand, a principal can be like the principal flautist or whatever. Money is his principal problem. That'd be another good example. The word principle with an L-E is it's some kind of truth or doctrine or motivating force or something like that. So, knowing that, let's look over here at our local paper in this column from Leonard Pitts, who, by the way, was here a couple of years ago. The price of our principals. Now think about that. Are we talking about the salaries of our high school principals? What are we talking about? The price of our principals. I don't think he meant that. And then if you read down in the very first sentence, it says, what price are principals? Principals is spelled correctly there. So the headline writer missed that one. Prophecy and prophecy. And that's on page 226. The bottom line here is one is a verb and one is a noun. The noun is with a C and the S is with the S is a verb. So I don't have a good way to remember that, guys. I'm not real sure, but maybe I'll come up with something. The cartoon says, Grandma, how come we have a Mother's Day and a Father's Day, but we don't have a Children's Day? And the grandmother says, every day is Children's Day. And he says, the gift of prophecy, right? He knew that his grandma would say that. And protester, this is just a spelling thing, ends in ER. And below that, prove, proved, improving. On the right-hand column there. Use proven as an adjective, not as part of a verb tense. And then I just think this is a cute cartoon. It's the Q's and it says, the U says, I'm tired. Can't you go just by yourself once? Right? And that's it. We are done with, that was L through Q. So I hope I didn't go too fast for you on that and that you learned a little bit of something to take with you the rest of your life maybe. So thanks again.